In this video, I'm going to break down my favorite piano fill. I use this all the time when I'm playing. You can use it in so many different styles of music, and I call it the Split Triad. And if you keep watching to the end of the video, I'm going to show you how you can get really creative with this piano fill and make it your own. This video is part of the Piano Power-Up series, the idea being that you watch the video and then you head straight over to your piano to put into practice what you've learned. We always have a timer for these videos. Check this out. There it is, that's how long we've got. Let's dive in. So just as a quick reminder, what are piano fills and why do we need them? Well, piano fills can really help us when we're on one chord. Just say you've got a G chord playing for a long time. How do you make that sound good without just repeating those notes in your right hand? And if you learn some fills, rather than just playing the notes in the triad, you can actually do this. See how that completely changes the music and kind of makes it sound like it's flowing a lot more and got a little bit more kind of creativity. So this is exactly the fill we're going to look at. It's called the Split Triad and it looks like this. So what is going on there? Well, we're in the key of G. We've got the root and the fifth there. We've got the G and the D. And what's going on at the beginning is we're using our second finger on the second. I like that. I hadn't noticed that when I came up with the idea for this video. Our second finger is on the second. It's on that A. Second on the second. I like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to move up like this. From the second to the third to the second to the root. Okay, I'll do that again. And can you hear it's really got that country sound? You know, if I extend it and I use it on a few other chords, you know, it just conjures up that whole kind of sound world, that kind of harmonic language that's used in so much kind of country music. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can use this split triad in a chord sequence. Okay, so our chord sequence is going to be in the key of G. There's our G major scale. We've just got that one sharp, the F sharp. It's so important when you're learning a new chord sequence to make sure you have the scale of the home key down in your right hand. Well, ideally in both hands. It's going to make it so much easier to kind of analyze what those chords are. And our chord sequence is going to go G, which is chord 1, going to E minor 7, which is the relative minor in the key of G, chord 6, okay? There's our voicing for E minor 7. Then we're going to go to C2, which is chord 4 in the key. And the reason why it's C2, rather than playing this C up here in our right hand, kind of doubling the note that's in the bass, we're going to kind of add in this color note here, this D. It just adds in a little bit of color. Listen to the difference. There's the regular C. Now listen to C2. It's just got that little color note there. So we're going to add that in, that's C2. And then we're going to go to D, and we're also going to play that as a 2 chord, which means that rather than playing the D in the middle of our right hand, we're going to play the E, which is the second. So here's the whole sequence, okay? It goes from G to E minor 7 to C2 and then to D2. First of all, let's get a little bit of rhythm going. So I think the pattern I'm going to do is this. I'm starting with the upper 2 notes of each voicing. So for example, on the G, I'm playing the D and the G, and then I'm using my thumb as a toggle. You can go and check out, there are loads of videos on the channel all about the toggle, go check it out. And then the same on the E minor 7. So now we've got that chord sequence really secure. Let's now see if we can add that split triad in the gap. So watch this. There's a lot going on there. I'll just do those first 2 chords again. You can see there's quite a bit of a jump and it's a little bit fiddly, but I'll break it down. I'll do it even slower. Watch. See that? And there are some really quick transitions there, particularly when we're going from the C to the D. Watch this. There. That's tricky. That's a really awkward kind of move. Yeah, it's hard, that one. That's a hard jump. What we're doing here is keeping the key right at the top. That's like the sound of G major, right? It's just going over and over. I mean, I'm just playing the fill on repeat there. But it kind of gives you an idea. Our key is kind of right at the top of what we're playing. We're constantly referencing the key. And then underneath, our chords are changing. Does that make sense? I sometimes call this the Swan Approach, okay? Which is, bear with me here, I think this works. When you see a swan gliding along a lake, on top of the water, it is absolutely beautiful. It's kind of tranquil, peaceful. It just seems like it's effortless, okay? And underneath the water, though, the legs are going like mad, and it's absolutely crazy, and it's kind of this kind of flurry of stuff going on. This piano approach we're doing here is a little bit like a swan, because on the top, we've just got the key gliding along, the sound of G major, and underneath, we've got those chords changing, and it's all kind of like going like kind of mad with all these different switches and kind of little extensions we're adding, little two notes, all this kind of stuff. But on the top, it's just the sound of the key. I'm now going to have a go at playing that all the way through with a backing track. By the way, you can download this backing track along with a free PDF lesson book that contains the notation and the sheet music for every single exercise I'm covering today. Do go ahead and grab that. The link is in the video description. It means you can work through all of this stuff at your own pace. Okay, let's give it a go. Again. Let's now change it up so we're playing in our right hand the triad that we're playing in our left hand. Okay, so what would that look like? So the split triad on G will just be the same as it's always been. We're in the home key, we're on the home chord, so it's going to stay the same. When we get to E minor, it's going to look like this. There it is. Remember, we're putting our second finger on the second. So the second of E minor is an F sharp. There's the E minor shape. Then when we get to C, it's going to look like this. There it is. That second finger is on the second of C, which is a D. And then we're going to go up to the D chord. And there's that split triad. So I'll just play you all the split triads, okay? G, E minor, C, and D. Let's have a go now at playing that same chord sequence through, but changing up that split triad in our right hand. Let's do this with the backing track. Let's go again. At the beginning of the video, I promised you a few ways of how you can get really creative with this. And this is something I always try and do on the channel, is when I teach you something new, I never want to teach it to you parrot fashion, okay? I want to give you some ways that you can really make this your own and kind of put your own spin on it, okay? So that's what we're going to do now. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to change up the kind of order of some of those fills, okay? This is it's a little bit confusing, but just bear with me, okay? So watch this. Let's just keep that one normal. We're on the chord G, we're going to play a G triad, okay? When we go to the E minor though, I'm not going to play a G triad and I'm not going to play an E minor triad. I'm going to try one of the others and see how that sounds. It's kind of about blending different sounds from the key together, so just kind of bear with me. Let's try playing a D split triad there. Do you hear that? Let me play you the first two chords now, listen. G, E minor, with that D. Do you see that? It just kind of creates a kind of different sound on that chord, okay? It kind of gets us away from being on E minor and having that kind of rigid E minor sound. It's just referencing another part of the key. What we're actually doing is referencing chord 5 in the key. We're referencing that D chord. Sounds really cool. So on the third chord of our sequence, the C2, let's just keep that really simple and play a C split triad there. But let's change up the kind of split triad we're using on the final chord. Let's, on the D chord, our chord 5, let's play a C split triad. So I'll just play you the final two bars, okay? Here's our C. There's quite a lot going on there, okay? And I'm aware it's a lot to take in. It can get a little bit confusing, this, because you're kind of constantly thinking about what's going on in the lower part of the sequence, the kind of underlying harmony, but then you're also having to think about the kind of decoration on top, which are those split triads. Let me just play that all the way through with the backing track. So this one's normal. Now we're going to change up this one here. This is D. Normal. And here we're going to do a C split triad. Yeah, a lot going on there. Now there's just one more thing I want to show you today. It's kind of a way of how you can extend this fill out, okay, and get it away just from sitting in kind of one position. Watch this. I'll do that again, just check it out, check it out. So what I'm doing is I'm adding in another position for playing that triad in the middle. So we play it once, and then we jump here. It's almost a way of inverting the fill. So if you look at the beginning, we had G at the bottom and D at the top. But now when we move it down, we've got D at the bottom and G at the top. So our little moving phrase in the middle is D, E, D, B. And actually what you can do is extend it out again. So you go... It's now getting quite long. But watch this. I mean, I love the sound of this. I mean, I've doubled it up again, again there as well. But check it. If I just do one, I mean, it's worked so well. And it just, again, it just conjures up all those kind of country kind of influences. And the great thing is, I'm going super, I'm jumping on a few steps here now, so just bear with me, but you can actually play about with different bass notes in the key. I mean, it's just a way of creating all these different kind of sounds. But for the moment, just kind of use that as a little idea. I'm now going to have a go at playing the sequence again. I'm just going to play about with that little idea of jumping when we've played that first split triad. I'm just going to see what comes out. Let's give it a go. See what I mean? Okay, now it's your turn. Go and head over to your piano or keyboard and have a go at putting this into action. You gotta do it, you gotta do it, you gotta do it. Don't forget to grab that free PDF download. It's also got the backing track in there, so you can really get all of this under your fingers. And if you enjoyed this video, I've made a whole bunch of piano power-ups videos on the YouTube channel. There's a whole playlist of them here. Go check those out. I think you're gonna love them. I mean, a huge amount if you could subscribe to the channel, like the video, ding the bell, all of that stuff that YouTubers always say. It does really help us grow, so I hugely appreciate it if you could do that. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.